Very quickly, just because I love, again, what I love doing is on the spot, really, if you have a question about your business, about your brand, about your messaging, about who you are, how to differentiate yourself. I love providing strategy and thoughts around that right on the spot. So it's like one of my favorite things to do. But before that, let's just quickly go through presentation. So can I, yep, great. So this is who we are, Soul Chem Creative. Again, full service team, full service agency, specializing in this space. First and foremost, you are your brand. So even if you run a co-working space, even if you have a product on the shelves, my belief always is like, people want to know the people behind the businesses. People want to know the story. People want that ability to connect with you further. So I always say to all of my clients, I always say on every stage, the reason that people are going to come into your space to buy from you, oh my gosh, the robot literally just blinked.
I didn't know they did that.
No, it blinks.
Oh. The little eyes.
Hello, everyone. The reason that people are going to want to buy from you, come into your space, read your book, listen to your podcast, engage with you as a brand in any way, is first and foremost the feeling that they have about themselves and about you. So we have to create a brand that really authentically holds who you are and what you do, right? Okay?
Yeah, I'm just grabbing the remote.
Okay, all good. So what that means is, what do you feel like? One of my favorite examples always, right, is I worked with a coach, and she was like fast at talking, from the Bronx, cursed a lot. And I was like, you're amazing. I would hire you as my coach. I wonder why your programs aren't filling. I wonder why your, events aren't getting filled. You're amazing. And I went to her website, and it was like, namaste, welcome. And there was such a disconnect between who she was, how she showed up in the world, how she walked through life, how she spoke versus how she was presenting herself, right? And that disconnect from a psychological standpoint for your consumer is going to feel as distrust. If they see you or your brand one way on stage, on the internet, on social, and then they come and they engage with you in a different way, and it's a totally different vibe, a totally different feeling, even if they don't understand, even if they wouldn't be able to articulate, I'm feeling distrust about this brand, I'm feeling distrust about this product, that exists, right? Just like when I was speaking to this coach, and then I went to her website, boom, distrust, you've lost me, right? Again, even if I'm not able to say that out loud, underneath the table, that's what's going on, right? Oh, I just got this feeling from this person, and now I'm getting this feeling, and those feelings are very, very different. Distrust. So who are you in the world? How do you speak? How do you show up? And how can we bring that into your overarching brand? So the messaging, the tagline, all of that. All right, that's amazing. Okay, so this is who I am. You are your brand, right? So again, we work with a lot of CEOs, a lot of founders, a lot of people, who are managing other people or in the boardroom in one way or another. And what I always say, again, is the reason that people are wanting to engage with you in any way, including joining your team, being mentored by you, showing up in your space, hiring you, is because they're able to get that feeling from them. So how do you differentiate yourself from other brands doing the exact same thing? It goes back to you. What's your story? How did you start? What's your mission? What are you a stand for? And most importantly, from our perspective, what do you feel like? So when I'm doing branding, I'm able to kind of tap into the different feelings that I feel about people around when they're talking about their businesses, and then be able to create messaging from that. So it's a very different brand if you're like, power up, let's go, transform, rise from the ashes like the phoenix, versus cultivate, let go inward. You belong here, right? Two different brands, two different feelings, which will then lead to two different messages, two different colors, two different fonts, two different photography styles, right? We are feelings first. So just note that. What do you as a brand, what do you as a founder, what do you as a CEO, what do you as a product, what do you feel like? And what do you feel like to your consumer? And then taking note of that when you are creating messaging, creating, look and feel, creating websites, etc., because everything matters. So here's just some examples of just different people that we've worked with, right? So Angelica, boldly rise. She is, 60 Grammys under her belt. She's a well-known, she ran CBS under daytime CBS. She's amazing. And she has such a story. She comes from Mexican immigrant parents. She rose up. She did a bold rise through TV and media and all that. So we created this whole brand for her, again, which feels very different than someone like this, right? Different vibe, different feeling. Right? And that's the colors that we use, the photography style that we use. Nicole is a very different feeling than someone like Angelica. Are people online able to see this?
No.
Oh, they are. They're
we still see Angelica.
Oh, you still see Angelica, you don't see Nicole. Got it. So just so you know, Nicole is the head of speech pathology at NYU. She's much more, the vibe is much warmer, compassionate, nurturing. And so the photo, the colors, the messaging follows suit. You can even go to NicoleCalenda.com and check it out. And again, you just compare and contrast that to a brand like Angelica. The next thing, that I'll say is that everything matters, right? So, a lot of people that come to me, they're like, oh, I look at their website, I look at the brand, and I'm like, okay, so why is the logo blue? Why is the background, why did you use this stock imagery? And the answer is usually, oh, well, blue is peaceful, or blue is calming, or I use this because, I saw Marie Forleo do this, right? Like there isn't a lot of strategy behind why we use the colors we use, why we use the messaging we use, why we're doing what we're doing on social. It all needs to be coherent. It all needs to be cohesive. It all needs to flow into each other. So what you're doing on social needs to correlate to what you're, what you're writing on your content calendar, right? It all needs to match again. And most importantly, it all needs to match vibe-wise, right? Vibe-wise. It all needs to really, no matter where people are finding you, it needs to be that same feeling. So even if you're writing different content on LinkedIn versus Instagram, which by the way, you should, again, the feeling needs to match. Otherwise, you're going to lose brand equity and you're going to lose trust of the brand, right? It needs to be the same feeling throughout. So everything matters, the colors that you use, the words that you use, the photography, the amount of white space, how you're introducing yourself, all of that needs to match the overall feeling, the overall container of who you are as a brand. Everything matters. Yeah, so when you're thinking of your business, your brand, think like, what is the personality of this brand? When I'm working with larger organizations, I take them through an exercise where everyone in the room starts to think about, if my business was wearing clothes, what would they wear? Is it free, like floating dresses? Is it a buttoned up theory suit? Is it Eileen Fisher, right? If my brand was a person, how would I describe them? My brand was an animal, what animal would that be and why? If my brand was a room, how would that be decorated? Is it full of West Elm? Is it full of like cool different? All of that leads to the personality, the attributes, the essence of who you are as a brand. And that all matters. If a West Elm feeling brand is going to be very, very different than, a totally, full of art, different kind of art and color, right? Those are two different feelings. Again, everything matters. So think to yourself, what's the personality? What are the attributes of my brand? What does my brand feel like? When people are engaging, what is the feeling they have? Are they excited by it? Or do they feel confident and ready to go? Do they feel held and taken care of? Again, different feelings, needs to be different colors, different language, different everything. pivot accordingly. So I always use this. I started talking about the need and the necessity to pivot accordingly, especially during COVID. So, I use this example. I was working with a female founder. Her brand was all about manifest anything, everything is possible. You can go and create your most luxurious life. And like, awesome, amazing. I'm all for it. Yay, manifestation. However, in COVID, especially in New York City, when everyone around us is not living their best life, when the racial revolution was happening in our streets, not the message right now, not the message right now. So take note of what's going on in the world, what's going on in our community, what's going on with my consumers, with my audience. Are they now, for instance, everyone's working from home, and this is during 2020, and like people are scared and living in fear and people are dying, especially in New York City. Is now the time to say, manifest everything, your most luxurious life? Probably not, right? So pivot accordingly. What skills, what assets, what do you do that can be applied differently based on the changing times? What do your people need most right now? I always use the example during COVID of catering companies who they were doing huge, events, catering, weddings, all these things, and then everything stopped. And the catering companies that survived pivoted. They started changing their messaging of, oh, you're home, your kids are on daycare Zoom meetings. Let us cater for the week ahead. Let us cater for your family. Let us cater for your home, right? Instead of just being like, shit, there's no more galas, right? How do you pivot accordingly? Same with nail salons, right? Nail salons during COVID in New York City, no one was going to get their nails done. The ones that survived pivoted accordingly. They started to do take-home nail kits with your favorite color. What do they have? What assets? What do they have in their house that they can turn on a dime to meet the changing need, right? Same with one of my favorite, restaurants near Lincoln Center. Restaurants all closed. They turned their kitchen into a grocery to remain open during the heart of COVID. Grocery stores remained open. Again, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as leaders, we need to be able to pivot our messaging, pivot our offering, pivot who we are based on what our people are needing and wanting at the time, right? Which leads me right into the need to create community. And this is, again, something that I say about everything. We are in an epidemic of loneliness. All of us, especially now, are, and I think always, innately lonely, especially as adults, longing for connection, longing for friends, longing for community, longing to be able to turn to someone and say, oh, you too? I thought I was the only one, right? So thank God for HAYVN. Oh my gosh, like places like this, spaces like this, but there's an opportunity to create community for your people. Even if you are a CPG, even if you are a consumer-facing brand with a product in a grocery store, there is a way to create it. My husband is the head of technology at a company called Little Spoon. It is a food company. It is for toddlers and babies, right? But they're more than that, just that. They have a whole community where different parents can come in and relate to each other and ask questions. They have a whole series called Is This Normal, right? Where they do different content going out where people don't feel alone with their questions of like, is my kid a sociopath? Right? Like questions like that. Speaking from experience. But they're creating a space for themselves that's more than just food. If they were more than just food, again, there could be another cheaper food option that comes. But if they have a whole place in the eye of their consumer as, oh yes, food, but also my feeling of being alone as a parent, also a place where I can ask all my questions, so much more, right? So much more. It's such a value add, right? Create community for your people. With SoulCamp, for instance, we work with, a lot of clients at a time, we have a whole community for them, right? Every month we all get on and I bring in an expert of the month. Everyone goes around and says what they're going through. How can we help each other? If I was just a branding firm, there are a million other branding firms, but we're so much more than that. We do events around the country. We have 2 spots open for Vermont in March, but we do events with leaders, with our clients. We introduce them. I do dinners in Easton for female entrepreneurs. Like, it's so much more than just a website, is what, and that's not what we're known for. We're known for all of it. Again, the unmet need, especially now, loneliness, create opportunity for your clients to connect with each other, to connect with other people. You become more than just your service. To brand who you are, not what you do. And when I say who you are as a brand, who you are as a person, who you are as a place, because what you do is not the differentiator, unless what you do is like so unbelievable. And it's like, oh my God, no one else is doing that. But if you're just talking, for instance, HAYVN, if the brand is just co-working space, there are a million other co-working spaces. It needs to be more than that. Brand who you are, not what you do. That is like my number one message always. Unless, again, you have something that is so, and I have some clients that what they're doing, I've never heard of it before. And it's like, oh shit, okay, let's brand this. But if what you're doing, i.e. branding, i.e. co-working space, i.e. you can't go there because you'll lose, like there's so much competition in the space. Brand who you are, not what you do. Got a community, yay. Okay, great. So those are like the big things that I want to talk through. Like you are your brand, the need to pivot, the need to create community, the need to become more to your people, to your consumers, to your audience, more than just the services that you provide, because then you're always just going to be in competition with other service providers. Exhausting, horrible. No, there is so much more opportunity than that. Psychological imprint. Who are you to your people? More than a co-working space, more than offices. This is a place for me to find my people. This is a place for me to feel connected. Yeah, but seriously, it's like you have to think bigger. Otherwise, anytime the tide changes or a cheaper option or a new person comes, you're going to be shaken up. Horrible. No. That's my spiel. So I would love to do some just like on the spot strategy. It's one of my favorite things to do. I'd love to open it up. Again, if you have a question around, this is what I do and this is how I'm presenting myself, right? And it's not working, right? Or I want to take my message from one-to-one to one-to-many, which is like so many of my clients. That's what they're ready to get off the couch and into the world. Give it to me. Those in the room, those online. Give it to me.
I don't Monday.
I know. We have a private session.
I want to take anybody else's spot.
I can go first.
Yes. What's your name?
I'm Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Brooks, and the name of my firm is also Kate Brooks Studio.
Okay.
I'm an interior designer, and I focus on sustainably designed and executed interiors, both residential and commercial.
Great.
Just in short.
Yeah. So what's going on with your business?
I'm trying to grow it. I'm trying to get one customer after next, one client after next, and come to HAYVN every once in a while to socialize and network.
So why did you start doing interior design?
Well, I mean, that was, I don't know, that was just my calling, I guess.
Like always from when you were
a kid? When I was 10, I knew that I wanted to go into architecture and the building world and have something to do with the built environment. So I went for a degree first in architecture, then switched to interior design, and then worked in that field ever since.
Do you know why you loved it so much? Do you know why you were so interested back then?
I think that it was a combination of a structured space and also creative freedom, or at least to a certain degree of creative freedom.
And so how do you work? Like you go in, what do you, can you just give me a little bit more specifics?
I basically work on both residential and commercial projects on everything from grounds up, really, from specifying building materials to specifying furniture and also selecting finishes and, decorative items in rooms.
Got it. So what I'm hearing is a differentiator here is in that how you work, right? It's not interior design, but I have another client who's an interior designer and she doesn't have an architecture background and she's not working from the foundation up, right? What I'm hearing in you is that what's your name again? I'm sorry, Kate.
Kate Brooks.
Kate Brooks, from foundation to finishing, right? Like there is this, just
It's like
Everybody's like,
But you're this all-in-one. You're not just, oh, I have everything built already. Now come in and let me get a couch.
Yeah, no.
You're from the foundation to the finishing. You're all-in-one solution with an architecture background and a design, whatever, right? You hire me when you're to bring your concept into reality from foundation up.
So it's really being a part of the
Process.
team
Yeah.
from
Absolutely.
the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And all, and again, with the focus on sustainability, so what that means.
But that's
is-
but yes, wonderful sustainability and everyone's sustainability. So that's not a differentiator. Like that can live as a message. Great, sustainable, yay. Not a differentiator. Not going to choose, not going to make me choose you over someone else. It's going to make me choose you over someone else is architecture, like that you have a whole, background in architecture, that you really can be there from the beginning. It's not just a couch.
Right.
It's the whole, it's the texture, it's everything.
Yeah.
Foundation to finish.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And do you also kind of monitor the pricing of things? Is that important? Like, since you know both aspects, you're not gonna, you'll think about it practically too.
Oh,
Right.
yes, it's as part of the process, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like, you're the built-in, and again, in a session, we would create all this, but like the built-in blah, 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 right? Like, and that's a package, like you can even call it from the ground up, package one, from the ground up, package two, like, let's furnish the space, let's clear, whatever it is, right? But like from the ground up is a very different offering, right? Then let me decorate now, right? Two different. And that's the foundational work, foundational packages, furnishing packages, right? Everything comes from once you have a brand. So you have a brand, Kate just now, right? From foundation to finish, right? That then becomes the foundational packages, the finishing packages, foundation to finish in your office, foundation to finish in your boardroom, foundation to finish in your event space, foundation to finish in everything. Everything becomes and lives under the world that is foundation to finish. Again, it's not interior design. Interior design lives under that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Who's next?
I need to come up with my tag.
So I have a question. So do you have to figure out exactly what you want to do first?
No.
Okay.
I believe
Yeah.
that everything starts with the brand. And I'm not just like brand, like obviously you are all saying me on the spot. I tap into who you are, right? Even if you don't work with me, find someone who can do that, right? To tap into the essence of who you are, name that, brand that, create language around that, and then everything unfolds from that place, right? It's not, this is what I do. I have to figure out who I say to all my clients, come completely cold. Don't send me anything in advance. Don't think of anything in advance. Everything's going to be created from a space of nothing.
So the only thing, maybe because this is also personal branding, but
No,
because the whole point when you build, you guys are building a franchise, and you don't want it to be
absolutely.
So what do you do?
Tap into the energy of the brand. So it is, again, like when I say you, I mean the brand, right? Like, and for a lot of personal brands, the you is you, like actually the person. For HAYVN, the you is the energy of HAYVN. For Soul Camp, the energy of Soul Camp, right? I just branded a nationwide med spa. It's a holistic med spa. But, I tapped into what they're here to do. What are the differentiators here? Like, what is the feeling when you walk through the door? What is the feeling of the CEO? All of that, right? To come up with the names, and then from the name, and I'm not going to say the name out loud, but to come up, once we have the name, then everything comes from that, right? Like once we have, I'll use I'm not going to say what it is, but but it's like once we have a name, then we know what to call the consultants. Then we know what to call the rooms. Then we know what to call the different offerings. Then we can plan out the offerings. I don't know how people create things without a solid foundation in place. Like I don't know how. Right? It all starts with who are you for? How are you differentiated? What is your place in this space that you're in. And then from there, okay, so knowing that, here are the offerings, here are the colors, here's where we should get our office. It's almost like an example I use sometimes. It's like, if you create who you are as a brand, and part of that is like, we are all about, like, one of our key drivers is sustainability, right? Like, we're creating a whole brand around sustainability. Like, when you go to Staples and you're picking printer paper and you're standing in front of a wall of 1,000 different printer papers, oh, obviously we're choosing the recycled printer paper because who we are as a brand is all about sustainability. Of course, we're going to choose this. Once you know who you are, decisions become easier. Like, otherwise you're just going to Staples and like, there's 1,000 different options.
Because if someone found, you might use it, find, oh, this kind is cheaper, but if your customers found out, oh, you're not using recycled paper, it'd be bad PR.
And I always say, and like, that's when you're creating a brand and you're not just about what you do, and you're about the bigger what you do. Price, we're not the cheap. Soul Cam Creative is not the cheapest. And I say, if you're just looking for like a designer to do something, we are not for you. Like, because what we are is this. And if you don't want this, go find a designer. But like, good luck, because get this, right? Get the strategy from somewhere, right?
Anybody online want to share? Yes, Gina.
Hi, Michelle. This has been great. So I'm a virtual assistant, and I work with business owners who work on their own, and mostly I help them with their digital marketing tasks. But more than that, more than just being a task master, I partner with them. And that's what's been happening. It was kind of organic, but many of them view me as a partner in their business. And so I don't really have a tagline because there's so many different things that I do. So I love, so you're going to ask me why. So I'll say I like supporting others so that they can be successful. And so in corporate roles that I have been in support roles, that's what I enjoyed out of it, is, being there to support other people, give them the tools they needed to be successful or to reach their goal, whatever it is. And so that's what I enjoy in my business.
So do you work with all virtual entrepreneurs? Is that what you said? Virtual online businesses?
Most of them have an online component to their business. Yes. Some are traditional, like I have an interior designer, I have an insurance broker, but others have online components like, courses or things like that.
So, and I think I've used this line for someone else. So I would have to look, but like, what's coming to me is this concept of like your partner behind the screens, like behind the scenes, but behind the screens, right? Like this, like behind the scenes, like another brand I once created was called Your Other Half, right? And it's like, so like whatever that is, like that languaging needs to be, I've got this, so that you can go fly, right? And if that is like, that's not necessarily a brand name, but like, that's the vibe. Like, that's the feeling of, I got this, so you can soar. I show up in the space that you feel trepidatious around. But that's what I keep feeling in my body right now, is like, I got this. Go do what you do best. And what that feels like for me as a consumer is an exhale. That feels like, okay, I don't need to know everything, right? That's the messaging here, which is like, you don't need to know everything. You don't need to know blah, 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 blah. You get to stand in your genius. You get to stand in your purpose. You get to stand in what you're here to do, and let me get the rest, right? Like, that's the languaging. Because me as a business owner, I'm like, okay, right? Like, take it. That's how I feel. Like, you already have so much on your plate, like, let me take the full plate. right? Maybe, and so like, then we're not, so this is, you see my brainstorming and I can't see you, which is harder for me. Oh, great.
Oh.
There you go. Where are you? Hi. Okay. Hi. So this feeling of like, okay, full plate. Maybe there's something that I would start to explore there around like, what does it look like to empty a full plate? What does it look like to, and I would begin to like look at languaging around full plate, empty plate, and start to explore what that is. But that feeling of like having a full plate and then it being taken off your hands, having a full load and then having it taken off your hands, that's the feeling where this brand lives. So I would look for examples of, again, full plate, heavy load, different things that mean that, and see what language exists there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Help at all?
Yeah, it does. I also really loved what you said was that resonated with me was exhale. I felt like that really, you know.
Totally. Yeah. And I would want to get more into the nitty gritty of exactly what you do and in order to really, because like exhale, again, I would want to get more in, like, is this a personal brand? Is this more of a company brand? But yeah, the feeling here is relief. The feeling is held. I'm held. The feeling is I have someone I really trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, the feeling comes first. So we have to find, again, like what I said at the very beginning, we have to find words that match that feeling. The feeling is an exhale, relief. So again, so the word wouldn't be power up, right? Different feeling.
Right.
The words that you use, the colors that you use, everything needs to match that feeling of trusted. You got this.
Mm-hmm.
That. Hi. Yay, Phyllis.
All right, we have time for one more. Anybody else online?
Michelle, I will if that's okay, Leila. Hi, Leila.
Andrea, yeah.
Hi, Andrea.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Andrea Koblak. I am curious because I've heard you say who you are, your purpose, and the feeling all matter. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I'm thinking who I am. And I am multifaceted, you know, like I grew up in corporate. I was a yoga teacher. I'm a positive psychology coach now. If you meet me in the street and we have a conversation and I'm passionate about what we're talking about, I'm going to show up as enthusiastic and full of energy. But if you sit in a coaching session with me, you're going to see that I'm intuitive and compassionate and grounded. And those are very different sides of me. So when I think of who I am and how I'm going to brand myself, how do I bring in those different aspects to let you know that I am multifaceted?
Yeah. So I wouldn't use the word multifaceted because that's a very boring type feeling word, and you are not that. And I hear you. I show up like this in these spaces. I got it. What I will say is you bring all of you to the table, right? No matter where you are, you're all in, right? So this feeling of when I'm in corporate, I'm all in. When I'm in my yoga class, I am all in. You're all in whatever you do, right? And so without knowing you at all or exactly what you do now, that's the vibe I get from you, which is like, I like living life all in. What does that look like? What does it mean to be all in with your partner? What does it mean to be all in your business? What does it mean to be all in your body?
Thank you.
I don't think you need to choose, I'm passionate or I'm intuitive. I'm this. Of course, we're all complex. I would like, you should see me in this is me like this. When I show up, of course, we're all human. We show up totally different. That's why if that is the differentiator, then I start to go there, right? If your personality is the differentiator, right? In the space that you're in, that's where I go. But what I'm hearing is you are multifaceted and you are for multifaceted people. You don't fit in a box. Your message is about helping people not fit in a box. You go all in. Your message is about how other people can begin to live all in or all out, whatever that language is, right? Like it doesn't mean you're not a yoga instructor or this, you're all of it. And you allow people to be all of it too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining. And that's actually all of our time here today. So thank you so much to Michelle. Presentation. All of the slides that she had for her presentation will be sent to everybody that registered for today. So thank you for bearing with me. Michelle was amazing. We hope to see you next time.
Yay! Bye everyone. Join HAYVN.